Hello again, and welcome back to Legally Cited. This is Jesse, aka BGFH, and I am back for what should be the last of my Apple hardware review videos this year. God, I hope so, because I've spent enough money. Oofta, that was really bad. This time we are indeed looking at, got the box right here, the 12.9-inch iPad Pro 2018 edition. So this was announced in October. Got it. I actually did end up pre-ordering it because I knew I was going to be getting something for my parents to kind of hand them down, get them an updated iPad. And I thought, it looks like the screen and the camera and everything are going to be good enough where, you know what, I'm going to get the new one and hope that I can do some additional things that I couldn't do with my original Pro. So, typical Apple packaging. You've got your kind of cool little artwork on there, but otherwise it's a minimalist box. You got your little Apple stuff on the thing, on the back there, really nothing really to it. That's your box. There's your Apple logo. Nothing too out of the ordinary there. So chuck that aside. And here we go. Here is the fingerprint magnet that I just noticed. Wow, there's a lot of stuff on that screen, and I just wiped it down. This is the iPad Pro 12.9-inch. And you're going to notice a few different things about the hardware in this one. So first off, let me bring it up here. Look at the edges of this. It's not rounded like the more modern iPads and iPhones, where you have the top and the bottom are kind of rounded everywhere. This kind of goes back to their earlier designs, like their 4S, and I think their iPhone 5 maybe had this, where it's curved around the edges here, or the corners, but it's actually, it's actually more squared off on the top and bottom. So it feels more like an actual slab, more of a rectangle than it does kind of this curved metal. And so yeah, this is the 12.9-inch. If I touch the screen here, you notice, look at the bezels. There's they pretty much say, oh, there's hardly any bezels to this thing. It's edge to edge. I wouldn't call that edge to edge, but I do find it you don't hardly even notice, because it is really close to the screen, to the edge of the tablet. And I would also say that, honestly, you kind of want there to be a little bit of a bezel, because if you're holding this thing, otherwise, how are you going to, hold it, not accidentally touch the screen? Look at this, though. I look up here. No notch. No notch. So that is good. It's all uniformly thin bezels. Got the back here. I got the space gray. We got the black Apple logo there. Again, now look at this. This is the camera. I'm going to do this sideways here. Look at how high that thing is. That sucker sticks out quite a bit. And look at what we got here. We have a camera. We have a flash. Yeah, we finally have a flash on an iPad. I know they had it last year, but the first generation iPad Pro, they were bragging about how good their camera was, and they didn't include a flash. But thankfully now they did, and life is good. So yeah, that is pretty cool. And it is a good camera. I think it's basically the same camera that they put into the iPhone XR. So it's not your dual lens camera like in the S series there, the S 10S or 10S Max, but it's good. It's actually quite good. And I have actually used it as a CCTV with another piece of hardware that I'm going to hopefully review in a future video coming up shortly. But so there's your camera. And of course you got your button there. You get your button on the side, your let's see here. You got your power button on the top, of course, and then your volume buttons there. Typical iPad fare, nothing unexpected there. However, suppose one were to look at the bottom edge of the iPad. Something's missing. Yep, it's thick enough, but guess what? We don't get a headphone jack. Nope. Headphone jack is gone. It is no more. I am kind of sad to see it go, although I don't use headphones on my tablet as much as I do my phone. This does have 4 speakers here, so whether I'm putting it in portrait or landscape, doesn't matter. The sound on this is actually quite good, quite good. But you do also have another change. You have a USB-C port. Yeah, no more lightning connector, which is kind of good in a lot of ways, because now you have a lot of other peripherals. You know, everyone else is going USB-C, so it helps to, like, oh, if I have Android devices, I have, you know, other USB-C devices. Well, guess what? My iPad can use that charger now too. Although I did find one oddity. Now, I did a review for my Samsung Galaxy Tab S3 a while back, and at work, at one time I had just its charger, which is USB-C. It fit in the jack down here on the bottom. It fit, but it would not power the device. It would not power it. And I thought, God, is something wrong with my cord? Plugged it into the Galaxy. Nope. Boom, it plugged in, got the charge going right away, not a problem. Plugged it back into the iPad Pro, nope, won't charge. So I finally I found another cable, just a plain old USB-C cable, plugged it in, charged the iPad perfectly fine. So I don't know, apparently there's something weird with the Samsung Galaxy Tab S3 USB cables, and maybe they have some sort of weird. I tried to look on Amazon, and they said they had some sort of charging / like data cable or something, which I don't know if there's some other weird transfer protocol with that, or I don't know what the spiel is, but I found that cord will not work. So I learned that the hard way. I don't know why, but if you do happen to be in that scenario, don't be surprised if that particular cable doesn't work. So I went and picked up a couple more braided USB-C cables online on Amazon for cheap, and they work beautifully. So now also with the USB-C cable, you can hook other things into it. You can hook it into a monitor. You can hook it up into all kind. They've hooked it up to cameras, and you can transfer the pictures into the photos area. So you can do a bit with it. I've heard some complaints. Now, I have not used the USB-C cable and the connection to do anything with the iPad, and it's because I really don't have any hardware to do so, and I don't really have the need to do so. But what I have heard the complaints about is, like, you can only transfer things to the camera roll. You can't transfer things to the Files app. You can't, if you have another photo app that you're using for photo libraries and such, you cannot import things into there. The closest thing that people have been able to accomplish is to use a Siri shortcut, and then it'll basically like import it into Photos, and then it'll put it into the other thing, and then it'll delete it from Photos, and that just sounds clunky and stupid. The other limitation is the USB-C thing here. You cannot apparently put it in, you cannot plug a hard drive or thumb drive into there if you have said adapter. Like, let's say you have a USB-C hard drive or something, or you have a thumb drive and you have a regular A cable to USB-C adapter. Nope, doesn't work, which honestly, Apple's been really pumping this thing up as, hey, this is a computer replacement. You don't need a laptop, you don't need your computer. The iPad is the end-all be-all. This is what you get. This is what you need. And, you know, I've seen other sites call them on it, but this is sort of what I've been, you know, finally they're calling them on it this year. But I've been saying this for a while. And that is that, you know, they're claiming this to be this computer replacement, this fantastic device. It's not just a, you know, when Steve Jobs introduced the iPad originally, he said, you know, this is kind of in between a laptop and a phone. You know, it's more of a consumption device. It's better than a crappy netbook, you know, which it is. I had a netbook back in the day. I went through that phase. And that was fine. But now they're hyping it up so much as this computer, and you can do a lot. I mean, the hardware on this is ridiculous. This thing is so fast. Like, I don't have really any apps that really tax this thing whatsoever. I really don't. I mean, a few games maybe, but other than that, that's about it. But I have to ask, what is the point? What is the point of the Files app? I know you use it with your iCloud and Google Drive and OneDrive, all these cloud services. I know you do that, but the problem is, like, a lot of professionals, you know, if they're working a lot with media or files or documents or whatever, we like to be able to hook our portable devices up to our computer and just go transfer it, you know, put it like a thumb drive and work with our files that way. And with iOS, you know, you have this siloed experience where, let's say that, oh, I do one part of my document in this app, in app A, then I go to app B and I do something with it there, and then I bring it into app C to finish it off or whatever. And the problem is, you're not just using the same version of that file. Each app has to have its own version of it in its own silo. And if you're dealing with large files, be it media or, you know, audio, video, PDFs, just something that's really large, images, why would I want to have so many versions of this just floating around in each little silo? Honestly, if Apple was smart and if they were saying, okay, you're really going to use this as a computer, their Files app should be your central repository that all of your apps should be required to be able to access your files area, and you should be able to hook it up to a PC or a Mac, and you maybe shouldn't be able to get to the whole device, that's fine, but you should be able to get at the files area, and you can copy and paste your own files and folders to your heart's desire. That's what should happen. Otherwise, like I said, I just really fail to see, yeah, okay, you have all of your cloud services in sort of one place. I get it. But that's not how a lot of long-term professionals, myself included, that's not how we work. You know, we do that. So there's a lot of missed opportunity that I think, you know, OS updates could add additional functionality to the iPad Pro with their USB-C port, and I would highly encourage Apple to consider doing so, because I'm not the only one. I think pretty much every review or discussion I've seen about this year's iPad Pro, people are really starting to finally call them out on it, and I think it's really because Apple is, you know, tooting their horn so much about this is a computer. You don't need a laptop. So that is your USB-C. I told you, there's 4 speakers, so you have nice stereo sound no matter what orientation you have it. And the home button is also gone. So you're missing the headphone jack, gotta use Bluetooth, and you don't have a home button. So just like your iPhone 10 series, you use Face ID. And I am gonna, hang on. Come on. All right, I think I had to enter the code that time just because I was touching it. I was touching the screen and all kinds of stuff. So I think I hit it enough times where it said, hey, you better enter your code. But Touch ID does work pretty well on this. And the nice thing about this, unlike the phone, is that Touch ID works no matter what orientation you use. So I can do it in portrait, I can do it in landscape either side, I can do it even upside down if I had it pointed the other way. I've tried it this way, and I've tried it in, you know, a lit room. I've used it in my bed in the middle, you know, at night with the lights off. Works fine. The thing is, if you're doing it like landscape, you have to remember to kind of look to, you know, you kind of have to look either to the left or right, depending on the orientation of it, for it to really recognize properly. And as a visually impaired user, I actually found setting up Face ID a lot easier on the iPad, because I was able to see the big old circle in the middle of the screen during setup, and says, oh, put your head here. And then I think they might have also added additional voiceover instructions in how to move your head to set up Face ID, because I don't remember that much guidance when I originally set up my iPhone XS Max. And that, you know, like I said, you have to do, you have to set it up kind of twice. You have to go through 2 scans of your face. And I had a lot of trouble during the second scan on my phone. This one, I was in and out in like 30 seconds, both times combined. So it was really fast, and it would say, you know, okay, look at the screen, and it would say, turn your head slightly to the right, turn your head slightly up and to the right, turn your head up. So you were kind of just, you know, slowly going bit by bit, you know, up and to the left, then look down a little bit, and boom, it would give you your percentages, and it worked beautifully. So maybe during iOS 12.1 or something, they added some additional guidance to Face ID setup, and I think it works way better now. I think people may have, especially if you're visually impaired, will have a lot easier time setting it up with voiceover. Also, when I set this thing up, I should mention one oddity that I did have, and it scared me a little bit actually. So I took this thing out of its box, and I went to set it up. I turned it on, and you get the regular hello, you know, where it goes through the different languages and it says hello and whatever. I turned voiceover on, that worked. But then for some time, the screen was not responsive. I'm like, what the heck? I couldn't touch, I couldn't swipe, I couldn't do anything seemingly. And voiceover, like if I triple tapped the power button to do, you know, just like the phones, you don't have a home button, so you use the power button to toggle your accessibility features. That worked. I could turn voiceover on and off, but it would not, nothing on the screen would respond. I'm like, oh crap, did I get a dud? Do I got to go back to the Apple Store and try to find, you see if I can get a replacement, if they have any in? And I couldn't turn it off either, because I couldn't remember, you know, I haven't had this type of device, and so I didn't know, like, how the hell do I turn it off? Like, I would hold down the power button and it wouldn't do anything. It would just sit there. So I said, okay. I was just about to look it up on Google, and then I thought about it and went, wait a minute, okay, I'm gonna let it sit here for a couple minutes. The screen will go dark, and then I'll turn it on again, and then we'll see if it worked. Once I did that, I don't know, there must have been some like hidden dialogue or something, or I don't know what happened. But once I turned the screen back on again, it kind of started over, and voiceover came on, and it worked flawlessly after that point. So from that point on, it was a buttery smooth experience. I had no problem whatsoever. You know, got through the setup, and I even restored from iCloud, just like I did with my XS Max earlier this year. I didn't start from scratch. I didn't clean the fridge this time. I said, I just don't want to go through all that this time. Restored it from iCloud, and within an hour or so, I was back up and running with all my apps there and everything. Life was great. So I don't know what caused that initial unresponsiveness. I don't have a clue. It kind of scared me though for a little bit. But it is working, and it has worked flawlessly ever since. So the screen here, like I said, I talked about the ports and the speakers and all that kind of stuff. The screen is not OLED, but it is this liquid retina display, which means you see in the corner there how it's kind of curved It's not a square like most actual screens are. It is rounded, but it does have this 120 hertz refresh rate, which basically means that this thing scrolls smooth as butter. Whether you're scrolling in something, we'll go to Safari, we'll open that up. Oh yeah. So I'm just scrolling up and down. Look at that, got my AppleViz webpage up here. I mean, it's just, you don't notice really any blurring. It's totally responsive. So just like your phones, I swipe up. I can flick up and I go home. If I flick up and hold, I go to the app switcher. I can tap in an empty area to dismiss it. If I'm in the upper left-hand corner and I swipe down, I get my notifications. And I'll swipe up to go home. If I swipe down from the right-hand side, Control Center. And just like the iPhone that I demonstrated earlier, with VoiceOver on, as the gestures change a little bit. Uh-oh, are we quiet here? Hang on.
Voice memos. Double tap to open.
Yeah, so...
Measure. Double tap Apple Store. Playgrounds. Page 3 of 5. Boxing Star. Fear. Instruments folder. Art folder. Flip type. So music folder.
I mean, it's really responsive. And again, just like the phone, you hear the two or three beeps on the top and bottom. So from the top.
Control Center.
There's my Control Center, 2 beeps. If I do 3 beeps.
5 apps. Notifications.
There's my notifications. From the bottom, if I swipe from the bottom and I go up 2, click, click. There's home. If I do 3 up,
double tap to open.
Boom, there's my app switcher. Don't care. Let's go back. So it works just that way. I mean, it works great. Like I said, everything just loads, even with VoiceOver, it loads very quickly. No problem whatsoever.
Doc, mail, 600, mail.
Mail. Okay, we got some mail up there.
Mail.
Close that.
Voice memos.
Let's open a game.
Fear. Double tap to open. Fear. Landscape. Charge port to the right.
Let me twist this into the old landscape here.
The game of running blind.
Loading.
So I'm going to flick up from that.
Fear. Portrait. Instruments folder.
Oh, come on.
Double tap to open.
This is hard to do one-handed with the slab. Come here.
One face, small face, face, on left edge. Port to the right. Blindness folder. 5 apps.
So let's swipe up.
Home. Calendar. Sunday. Note. App switcher. Fear. Active. Closing. Fear. Beat Street. Active. Beat Street.
Boom. We're back in.
Calendar.
And
Sunday.
you may have noticed, like I said, I didn't do a review at that time, but this past weekend I did a mixer stream as I was breaking in the iPad Pro. We went and played some classic games. We played some Beat Street, some Maximum Car, a little bit of Infinity Blade 2, Pac-Man 256. I don't remember, 1 or 2 other games. And I mean, like I said, it just runs great. It's fast. The speakers sound great. Let me go like this. Let me go to my app switcher.
App switch. Maximum Car.
I'm going to close Maximum Car. And then we're going to go home.
Calendar.
And
Sunday.
then...
Number. Doc. Suggestion. Doc. Settings. Suggestions. Beat Street. Fear. Maximum Car.
I just want to, you know you want to hear the music. We'll hear the speakers again.
Video. Double tap to toggle controls.
Can I turn?
VoiceOver off.
Here we go.
One face.
I just love that. Maximum Car. So good.
One face.
So it's just really nice and responsive. We'll load something that I haven't loaded. I don't know, I'll just do some random thing here. Actually, let's see, let's go. No. Let's just go into my quick games folder. It's hard to do this looking through my phone. Oh, let's load. Yeah, God, look at how fast that was. Just, I haven't loaded that game at all on this iPad, and it just loaded within like a second. I mean, this thing is stupid fast. It is so fast. The screen is great. Like I said, it's not OLED, but it is clear. It is bright. It's, like I said, the refresh rate is good. And I went back to, it's funny, I went back to look at my Switch, play around with my Switch a little bit earlier this week. And I looked at its screen, and I'm so used to using my phone and my tablet here. And I looked at my Switch and went, God, this screen really is not very good, you know, compared to my iPhone and iPad screen. So you definitely notice, even as a low vision user, you notice the screen quality. So that's just kind of a rough overview. I mean, it is an iPad. Like I said, you see minimal bezels here. You have Face ID, you have the USB-C, you drop the headphone adapter, you drop the home button. Face ID works every which way, every orientation. It's fast. It's really just, the battery life is good. I would say it's comparable to previous generations. I've been able to watch a lot of videos. I played a lot of games while I was listening to podcasts on my phone. I would say, 10 hours is probably a rough, that's what they're saying roughly, but I would say it's comparable to earlier iPads, even with the larger display. And I will say, because of the less bezels on this screen, it is lighter, it's thinner, even with it's not rounded anymore, it's, got those square edges, but it is lighter, and even holding it compared to my first gen iPad Pro, it's a lot nicer to hold in the hands because it just feels more comfortable to use, not just this giant monolithic slab. It's still big, it's still a 12.9-inch screen, but they've basically taken the same size screen and put it in a smaller body. So that is really nice. I do appreciate that. The main thing that limits this iPad Pro is iOS. Yes, I can do split screen. I can shove a video down in the corner. You can use the Apple Pencil with it. You have a hardware keyboard that they're selling for it. But here's the thing. Got to talk about accessories before we wrap up. So I had the old Apple Pencil for the first generation iPad Pro. Great. Problem is, the old Apple Pencil will not work on the new iPad. Well, first off, it is a Lightning pencil before. Now it's magnetic. You can basically stick it onto, there's a flat side of the pen, and you stick it on the iPad, and then it just wirelessly charges and magnetically attaches to your iPad, which is a lot better design. That's one thing I hated about the old pencil, was like you stuck it in the bottom of the thing and it looked like a really stupid selfie stick or something. I don't know. But you had this thing that's jutting out of the iPad when you had to charge it. So knowing that my parents weren't really going to ever use the pencil, I was able to sell it to a coworker. Lost a little bit of money on it, but I'd rather have it go to somebody that would use it. So I don't have that, and I am not buying the new pencil because I thought I might try to use the first generation pencil, like for art and things like that, just to try, because I used to draw a lot when I was a kid, and I just really didn't. I tried, and I just really didn't, I wasn't working out for me. I just wasn't feeling it. And so I just never used the pencil other than demoing it to clients at work sometimes, but whatever. And the new pencil, of course, because Apple's raising the price of everything. The new pencil's like $130, where the old one was $99. I thought the old one was expensive. Nope, got to make the new one more pricey. So that is more expensive. I'm not going to be buying or reviewing that. Their keyboard case is like $200, which hell no, I'm not buying that. I have numerous Bluetooth keyboards already, for one. And for two, I don't like the Apple keyboards because it's got those thin keyboards that are kind of like on the, I think they're like the keys on the MacBook laptops that they've been doing lately, which I really do not like. There's no travel in the keys. I just find them really uncomfortable to type on. So I'm not getting the Bluetooth keyboard either. I'm not getting a lot of the accessories. So I know they're talking that Photoshop is coming to the iPad next year. Didn't really see a lot of updates, a lot of things, professional Apple apps, coming to the iPad. And I don't know, like, it'll be interesting to really make the iPad itself shine for some people. Like, they're missing some of the apps. They're missing some of the professional grade apps that some people would want. And iOS really needs, especially if Apple's going to claim this thing to be a real computer competitor, they're going to need to basically unlock some professional functionality. I know they want to keep the people safe and whatever, but some people are just not able to do very easily what they maybe want to and need to be able to do. I mean, I found workaways around to it. I'll email myself attachments, and then I'll share those attachments to an app, or I'll use iCloud or Dropbox or Google Drive or whatever. But sometimes, like I said, you just want to be able to plug in a thing and copy a file. And like I said, there's no reason they can't just use the Files app as a repository and just tell all apps and tell developers to use that Files app as a central repository, and boom, you would have it made. That way you wouldn't have 3 versions of the same app if you wanted to do different things in several apps. There's just a lot of different things problems that would solve. But I don't know if Apple's really going to listen to that, but I know finally enough people are starting to even call them out on it. Like a lot of these professional tech sites and blogs and YouTube channels and whatnot. So we'll see what Apple does with iOS 13. I don't know, but I think that's what they really have to do. When I think it was iOS 11 when the Files app came out, and I thought, I was like, oh, cool, a Files app. Maybe I don't have to use iTunes. Maybe I can use it as a removable drive. Maybe. Nope. No, my hopes and dreams were crushed, at least in its current form. So that is really a review. I mean, there's not really a lot else to say. I mean, it is an iPad. It is the newest iPad. It's got the A12X processor in it. Like, it's basically a beefed up version of the one that's in the XS Max. It's got 4 gigs of RAM. It's got this liquid retina display. It's really fast. It looks really good. It sounds good with the speakers. It comes with a more powerful, was it 18 watt, or I forget the measurement, but it comes with a better, faster wall charger, although I still am using my USB hub, so it doesn't really make a lot of difference to me. But yeah, that is pretty much the iPad. I mean, you kind of, is it worth it if you... It's tricky, because if you have an older iPad, and if you are low vision and you are entertaining the idea of using this as a, big screen, it is lighter to hold. You can open apps like your Voice Dream Reader or Kindle, or, you can visually read your books easier. You have less bezel, so it's not as heavy. And it's the text just appears really, really sharp. I guess I can, We'll open a Kindle book, shall we? Yeah, so there we go. We got a book that I'm in the middle of reading. I'm using the dark mode. I mean, it looks really good. So you can adjust the font size. You can do whatever you want to. It's great for that. It's great for watching media, playing games. And the camera is, like I said, comparable to the iPhone XR. So if you are starting to use this as a CCTV with a very, very cool accessory that I'm going to be reviewing for you guys in a future video here shortly. You know, we are kind of getting to the point where the iPad Pro might be a really solid, I mean, it always has been, but, you know, where you might want to skimp and get the cheaper iPads before, if you're low vision especially, you might, there are reasons that where you might want to consider jumping to an iPad Pro, at least the second or third gen, so you have that better camera with the flash, especially the third. It's not bad. I was actually showing it, doing a lot of demos at work the last couple of days, and it worked great. Like, I had a lot of compliments going, wow, this looks really good. We actually could use this maybe in place of buying a $2,500, $3,000 CCTV in a school, because a lot of the kids use iPads anyway, so it might work. It's something to at least entertain anyway. So, like I said, that is the iPad Pro 12.9 inch version, 2018. Prices start, God, there's a 11 inch and a 12.9 inch, and I want to say the cheapest models, like, yeah, $799 or $899, I forget. And they come anywhere from like 64 gigs all the way up to 1 terabyte. And God, no, I did not get the 1 terabyte. I stuck to the 256 because, boy, howdy, you know, even without AppleCare, without any of the accessories, if you max out the 12.9 inch Wi-Fi version with a terabyte of storage, you're looking at almost $1,800. Ooh, that's a lot of money. That is a lot of green. And the 256 was expensive enough. So there you go. Like I said, I do have some issues with it, but it's more iOS and Apple's philosophies overall. The hardware itself is fantastic. I mean, they're so far light years ahead of other tablets. It's not even funny. I mean, the performance on this thing, like I said, I was telling somebody at work the other day that I wish I had some really, really crazy game or some really crazy application. Like, I want to see this thing just struggle a little bit. I want to see, like, how can I push this thing? You know, because all of the stuff that I'm using, you know, it runs perfectly, but it just doesn't even phase it whatsoever. So this thing will be future-proof for, I think, at least a few years. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Follow me on Twitter at BGFH79. You can also follow me on Mixer, mixer.com/BGFH for a few streams here and there. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and until next time, I will chat with you guys again later.
Stop recording video.